The People Playbook is for professional business owners and leaders who understand business rises and falls on people. You will hear practical, real-world conversations on clear leadership, smart hiring, and building strong teams. All formulas for retention. Get ready to hear your professional peers and industry experts as they discuss lessons learned and best practices. Get that journal out. You'll be taking lots of notes.
Welcome to the People Playbook, where we identify common talent challenges and offer solutions and best practices. This is Coach Cora, and thank you for joining us today here at 9:30 a.m., The Answer, to discuss the most important part of your business, people. The product you create, the service you deliver, the quality standards you set in place, all of this relies on people. And we are here to help with the often challenging aspect of attaining, retaining, developing, and leading the talent you need to run your business. Today, we will explore coaching and retention and how to engage multiple resources to ensure your frontline and mid-level managers have the skills they need to facilitate the assimilation and growth of their teams. Joining us today is Jen Miller with Leading Edge, based out of Las Vegas, Nevada. Jen brings over 10 years of experience as an HR executive and over 25 years as an executive coach. And she'll bring this knowledge and experience to our discussion today. Jen and I have worked together on a global coaching platform, providing leadership coaching throughout many countries in support of internal development activities. And we both have found people, whoever they work for, wherever they live, have a lot in common. Welcome, Jen.
Thanks so much, Cora. I'm really excited to be here and talk about, what it is that we can do to support people and ultimately to help businesses get to where they want to be. So thanks for having me.
I'm excited that you're here as well. We both have such a passion for doing what you just said, helping people help their business for that mutual success.
Yeah, and that's really what it's about. So building those skills are ultimately what get all of us where we need to be. So Thanks for bringing me on board. Absolutely.
So today we're talking about supporting our frontline leaders, our middle-level managers. Mm-hmm. And you and I have been in coaching for a long time. We're both learning professionals. And there are some top skills requested from both managers and their leaders. Can you share your thoughts on those? I know we've discussed this before. What are the top skills we hear managers asking for?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the interesting points is the skill that's requested both by managers and their organizations is effective communication and navigating difficult conversations. So across the board, wherever I go to work with organizations, that is the number one request that we get either through the sort of the training side or the coaching side.
And I hear that
usually,
as well.
Go ahead,
yeah.
Cora, sorry.
No, I hear that as well. Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of times where we're seeing this pop up is, when organizations are trying to navigate change, it becomes more critical. And it seems like almost every organization is working through change in some way. So it's top of mind all the time.
Absolutely. And that's all so connected when we have leaders that don't know how to have what they are calling difficult conversations, which is feedback conversations. And if they don't know how to have it, they put it off, right, Jen?
Well, 1,000%. So that's what happens, right? So it's not that managers don't know that they need to have a conversation. They know. It's very unusual that you're kind of like, oh, I don't know that something's happening. I need to address it.
Right.
But it's, a combination of a couple of things. So one is capacity. One of the things you and I talked about is managers are sitting in the middle of this sandwich, right? The organizational sandwich. And there's a lot of pressure. There's pressure coming to deliver results from the organization, but then there's pressure from their teams to support them more. And they often don't know how to do it, or they don't have the time to do it. So it's this combination of capacity and competence. Mm-hmm. And then there's a confidence piece too. Like, I don't know if I actually know how to have that conversation. I know I need to do it and I don't have the time and I don't know how to do it. So I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah. And we see
which is not the best choice.
Right. Because what happens is absolutely, if I don't have confidence in my competence, I put it off. I'm going to go do the things that I know how to do. And oftentimes new managers go to the task because they know how to do that.
Yeah.
And the things that they don't know how to do, right, is lead. And they put that off. I'm not confident in my ability. And then it just snowballs and it becomes, I have to have this difficult conversation.
Well, not only do I have to have this difficult conversation, which I still, by the way, don't know how to have,
right,
and don't know how to structure, and the fear gets worse, right?
Absolutely.
So the fear gets worse from the side of the manager, and then imagine the employee who knows, they know something's wrong, right? Mm-hmm. Typically, they feel something. Mm-hmm. And then the imagination of that person about why is my boss not talking to me? And then there's this world where somebody has all this time to imagine what might be going wrong, when in reality, it could be something that if we had the skill set, the time, and the confidence, could be managed at one time and eliminate that snowball effect.
Absolutely. And not only do they not have the skills, right? We hear that a lot. The other thing you brought up was fundamental task of a manager. And oftentimes they don't even know what they're supposed to be talking about. I don't know how to provide clarity. I don't know how to assess your skill level and help develop that. If I don't know any of that, feedback gets really difficult.
Yeah. So one, I don't know what we're even supposed to talk about in these conversations. One, I don't even know I'm supposed to be having them. Right.
Yes.
So if we think about, to your point, new managers, do they understand that having regular communication and conversation with each person on their team is actually a major function of their job? Right. So if I haven't been taught that, the first thing is I'm probably not doing that until something goes wrong, whereby I miss all the opportunity to have great conversations with a team member. You said feedback, right?
Absolutely.
These normal, regularly scheduled times when we sit down together and do that. And if the organization doesn't have an infrastructure for that, how would I know? So there's this whole organizational piece too. So you've got the individual humans that need to know, but then you have an organization that needs to embed that into their normal practice and expectations for their leaders.
Absolutely. And I'm curious about your thoughts. I know you've seen this. I know I see it. If I have a leader that doesn't have the skill to coach, develop, and grow their team, what's the impact on the team, and how is that playing out to the retention piece?
Well, the impact to the team is, one, this sort of, stall, right? One, I'm not having a conversation, so I don't actually know if I'm doing my job or not, right? So, am I doing what I'm supposed to do? Am I doing it well? Am I not doing it at all? And then there's this top level piece, this umbrella piece about, what about my overall development? Do I have a future in this organization? What does my career look like? So that piece is missing as well. And then what happens is that employees become disengaged, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So they might show up and they might do the task. They may not do the task if they don't know if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then eventually what starts to happen is one of two things, right? So employees who are super motivated to find that next career step and who are probably, high performers, they leave. Right?
Of course.
And they go and they take their great nascent skills somewhere else. And the ones who maybe are less sure of their skill and maybe not high performers, but could be doing a good job, just settle into some minimum expectation. Right. So what ultimately happens is we don't tap into the talent that we have to get people to perform solidly. And the ones who have high potential will just leave.
However,
I've seen it a million times.
The sub-performers, they stay.
They stay, right? Because they're under the radar. But not only that, but so the people who know, and I've heard folks say this in organizations, like, I'm just going to keep my head, I'm just going to lay low.
Stay off the radar.
I'm going to stay off the radar and just, clock in and clock out. And that's the end of it.
Yeah.
Or, and that's sort of the least generous interpretation. But a more generous interpretation, they simply don't know if they're doing what they're supposed to do. So they kind of just try to figure it out on their own without being given the guidance that we know we should give as organizations to help people be successful and to understand what success looks like for them. And I've said this a million times, Cora, employees kind of want two things, right? They want to understand what's expected of them, and they want to be treated fairly.
Fair. Absolutely.
And so when we're, absent of those conversations and opportunities to understand that, their willingness to work hard sort of drops off.
Yeah. I cringe when I am on site with client companies and I'm out interviewing the general public. How's things going here? What are your challenges? And when I hear, hey, if I'm not being yelled at, it's a good day. I must be doing it right.
Oh my gosh.
And so it's that really working with the leadership to help them understand. Yeah, we have to let people know if they're not meeting expectations or what they're doing, it was a mistake or something. However, we change behavior and drive performance not through telling them what they did wrong, but helping them recognize what they're doing wrong and how to be better. Just changing that one little thing. And so, right?
Yeah, just changing that one little thing. And to your point, you have to let someone know. Mm-hmm. I will hear, and maybe you hear this too, Cora, from managers and organizational leaders, like, oh, they know they're not doing it right. Mm-hmm. They don't know. Mm-hmm. People don't know if you don't share that information, and not only share the information, but part of this conversation, this difficult conversation, is first of all teeing up that conversation, but then what's the solution? Mm-hmm. So it's not just to your point, like, hey, somebody yelled at me because I did something wrong, but if you only get that far in the conversation, the solution part isn't there.
Yeah. This is the People Playbook with Coach Cora on 9:30 a.m. The Answer, and we are with Jen Miller with Leading Edge, talking about how organizations can support their frontline and middle management to drive retention. We're going to take a break for a quick promo that I have for you, and when we come back, Jen and I will be discussing what to do about these challenges that exist. Today, as a listener of the People Playbook on 9:30 a.m. The Answer, you have access to a great deal. It is the new year, and with that comes new goals. For those of you leaders out there holding development goals in hand, a 360 instrument can provide the specific data you need to know what skills will improve your effectiveness when developed, and that is targeted development. And with a one-on-one meeting with Coach Cora, you will have a personal development plan in place that aligns with your personal style, strengths, and preferences. Text the code 360 in 2026 to 210-488-3738, and you will receive the 360 instrument administration and a one-on-one coaching session with Coach Cora, not for $500, but for $450. That is a $50 savings. Again, text 360 in 2026 to 210-488-3738 to get this great instrument to drive your developmental goals. We are speaking with Jen Miller today with the Leading Edge on the People Playbook with Coach Cora, and we are enjoying being here at 9:30 a.m. The Answer to share this information with you. We outlined what some of the challenges our frontline and middle managers are facing in their efforts to lead. We're going to start to talk about what can organizations do. And one of the things I'd like to start off with, Jen, is the idea that human beings are wired to feel good about the work they do. And they resist that frustration and not feeling good. And yet, when they are set up to not be able to succeed, it's that frustration with not being able to do a good that is the disruptive behavior many leaders experience. It's not that they want to do bad. It's the frustration that they can't. And they get dubbed bad employees. Do you ever see that?
Yeah, constantly. So, people want to do a good job. They want to do well. They want to be rewarded and recognized for doing a good job. Mm-hmm. I have never met, we should probably never say never, but I can't think of a time of ever meeting an employee who's like, yeah, I really want to get this wrong. It just doesn't happen.
Right. I'm going to wake up in the morning and I can't wait to get to work and do a crappy job.
And destroy it.
And have everybody mad at me. I mean, I live for that.
everybody's going to yell at me. It's going to be a great day. That just doesn't happen. To your point, and I think, and I hear leaders trying to figure out why employees are doing a bad job, but not really being reflective on what is the organizational structure and the tools given to that person to do a good job. Mm-hmm. So you're right. Where we see the frustration from employees is they don't know, one, they don't even know what they're supposed to do. They don't know what good job looks like. Mm-hmm. And when they do know, they simply don't have the tools and resources and attention to get there. And then they get frustrated. Absolutely. And then that frustration shows up at work. Mm-hmm. And that frustration spreads from employee to employee.
And home.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
And you and I have both, and home. And you and I have both worked with corporate competencies, competency models. And we've also seen organizations that bring in different tools to develop. We know we need to develop our leaders, so we're going to use this one. And employees refer to training as soup of the day versus what is our competency model? Are we clear with our workforce? These are the skills you need to be successful and execute on our product, our service, and our strategy, and be consistent. Do you see that as well?
Yeah, and I either see that those things are absent or that they're being made, when an organization decides to put something in, they make it really complicated. Mm-hmm. And and a lot of times I go and I facilitate sessions on competencies. And the first thing I always start out with, because especially those of us who worked in HR and coaching for a long time, we'll start to talk to employees and managers about the competencies of their organization. And I stop and say, by the way, do you know what a competency means? Mm-hmm. And I'm not, do you know what that means? All it means is the how you do your job.
Right.
So we have the what, those outputs, those goals, those business goals that we're achieving. The competency is the how we do that. It's the behavior we use or the skill that we use. Mm-hmm. And the how is just as important as the what, if not sometimes more so. So you're right. So sometimes what happens is an organization, we don't actually know or haven't articulated how we want people to do that work and the skill that's needed to do that work. And so we just need to sit and say, hey, what makes, what are the skills and behaviors that are important to us as an organization to deliver that what?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And if I'm a new employee, and I know when I've started new jobs or started with a new client, and I know it's going to be a long-term relationship, my mantra is I can't wait till my 1-year mark where I know I have some semblance of the knowledge I need, the skills I need, and the abilities that I need to have to fully meet expectations. And it can take a little while, and I want to know what my plan is. I want to know how I'm going to get there. To our earlier point, if I come in and I know I want to do a good job and I want to convince my hiring manager they made a good decision by hiring me, that means I want to perform well. And I also know I have to learn and grow to get there. And
so
go ahead.
So you need to know what those things are that you needed to do to develop that outcome.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's interesting because you and I both do this quite a bit, and we've worked together when we've done it, is we are brought in as an external resource to develop those very skills in addition, and we partner so well with the internal HR and learning function.
Yeah, and I think the value in that is a couple of things. So from the organizational level, a lot of times we're coming in to do work, I hope you don't mind me saying this, Cora, that would be very expensive if it were full-time, right?
Right. No, that's
right? So
absolutely.
You may have a very competent one. You may not have an HR team, which is perfectly fine. So then you want to bring in someone to support the organization's leadership to develop those things, if that's the phase of organization you're in. Or you have a very competent HR team, but HR is very broad. Mm-hmm. There are 7, 8, 9 major functions where you might need a thought partner in developing this piece. So organizationally, it brings you a resource that on a full-time permanent basis either doesn't make sense or or you just need more thought partnership. And on the employee side, we're bringing in this level of objectivity, right? This external approach. None of you work for us, right? Mm-hmm. We're here to make sure that everyone is successful. That's where we get our kudos, is when that organization and those employees are successful. And we do that by supporting both ends of that without an internal stake.
Absolutely. And that is so important of the structure. So both from a resource, you're in HR, companies are either going to buy, build, or lease their talent. So if I don't have that core skill, how do I develop leaders to be effective in leadership if we don't have that core skill and we don't have the funds available to have, to your point, full time? It's so effective for people to outsource and bring somebody in. Here, I'm going to have this many hours or this many people, and then you're supporting what else they're doing in a reasonable way. And then number two, it's another voice. It's that safe voice because structure matters. Am I going to go to HR and share with them all the challenges I'm having? But I can be pretty upfront with somebody who doesn't have a reporting structure in the organization.
Yeah, and you build the confidence that way, right? So very often, and I think you work similarly, you might come in and deliver a structure for the organization about competencies in addition to some trainings for the organization. And then what's great is those leaders that are being trained come to us, in the coaching capacity or advising capacity, that they say, hey, look, I learned this from the organization, but now here's my unique challenge. And I really want to work on my unique challenge where I need some help so that I can go in. One, you don't know me and I feel like this is objective, but then I can go back into the organization and my job stronger. And then, like a little bit more confident and go in and practice the things that we're learning how to do together. So it provides that safe space. And many times HR leaders that I work with say, hey, please go and do one-to-one work with folks. And I don't need to know exactly what they're doing. I want to know that they're progressing, but give them the space that they need to develop that capacity, the competence, and the confidence all at once.
Well said. Jen, we've talked about utilizing your internal resources in HR and the learning function and or bringing in external resources to help with the development of our frontline and middle managers. What would you recommend for people? How do they select a coach? There's a lot of coaches out there. How do they select a coach?
Yeah. So there are a lot of coaches. So first of all, I would say, understand what you're trying to achieve through coaching. So what is the business and people impact of that? And that will help you segment coaches into those who work in leadership or performance coaching, which might look different from life coaching and other forms of coaching. Right. I would also look for someone who is certified. I'm not wed to, any one particular certification, but certainly the global certifications of ICF, International Coaching Federation, or EMCC, which is, more Europe and the Middle East based maybe. But make sure that those standards are there and that your coach candidates are upholding some standards and regularly working on their development. Yeah. And then, and I would say once you've selected coaches to work with, ask them what experience and what impacts they've achieved through coaching that they can talk about. And if you really want to make sure that your coach is working with you and your employees to achieve organizational and personal outcome, make sure that you agree with that coach what the business objectives are that you're working toward, and that those are aligned in some way with the one-to-one coaching, if that's the format you take, of managers. Like, make sure that you're aligned on how you will embed those business outcomes into the coaching or learning program.
Yeah, well said. And it's stay focused on purpose. What is the goal? Find somebody that aligns and make sure they have some credentials to back their performance up.
Absolutely.
So this is Coach Cora with the People Playbook here on 9:30 a.m. The Answer. We are talking with Jen from The Leading Edge about how to support our frontline and middle managers to drive retention. And Jen, I want to ask, this has been a great conversation, and you and I can keep talking for forever. We get real passionate about this, but there's listeners out there that are business owners, they're business leaders, and they are challenged. How do I help my frontline and middle managers? What is one key takeaway? What would you have for them to say, this is one thing I would really encourage you to consider?
Yeah, I would say that just to remember that this question of retention improves when organizations create the capabilities in their leaders to have regular, effective communication. And just remember, those leaders don't have to be perfect, but they do need to be equipped and able and willing to have those conversations so that they can drive performance and trust and ultimately retention. So that's what I would leave this off with.
Well said. Thank you, Jen. So creating the opportunity for the employee to experience progress is key. Promote and illuminate progress. Minimize opportunities for failure. Our goal is to grow confidence, not frustration. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope you join us here on 9:30 a.m. The Answer next week, 2 p.m. on Saturday, as we continue on our retention chapter of the People Playbook. Have a day full of learning new things.
Thank you for listening to the People Playbook. For more information, Coach Cora can be found on LinkedIn and at CoachCora.com. Let's meet here next Saturday, 2 p.m. on 9:30 a.m. The Answer.